Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm gonna try and make sure that everything is working in the background. I'm doing it real doing it real fast, real close, all that jazz, or like fast, whatever. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my marbles. I'm losing my cool. I'm shooting some people outside of school when a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got into one little fight and my mom got scared. They said, move with your uncle and auntie in Bel Air. That's what they said. Sorry, but I'm just quickly doing this. Making sure that things work. Basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna put it to normal microphone, and then I'm gonna put it back to this. And that should work. Close that, do this, do that, go here, go there. Up, down, left, right, beep, beep. I'm using the wrong microphone. Go here, go there. Game capture, properties. Where is it? Am I even the right? Hold up. Yes, I am. Aha! Behold! I am badly colored and disfigured. Anyways. Buzz off, AI. Bink! There we go. Life is good. Also, I want to check something real quick. Yep. Discolored. Some worlds just mess with avatar colors like that, so we might have to use a different one. Let's see, who would I use? I could be a Tanuki. I could be a ghoul. I could be Big Boss. Anton. I could be Travis. Touchdown. Who do we want to be? I think we're gonna stick to being him. We're gonna stick to being Rufus. Oh my goddamn, Mr. Krabs is still stuck in me. I'm gonna grab this pen again, just so I can skedaddle over here. Yeah. Am I actually? Yes, I am. Good. Oh, wait, hold up. Gotta get the free thing. Yoink! Ah, free money. Boy, I sure do love free money. Alright, where do I open this? Is it like through here and into like... where is it? Items? No? Cosmetics? No? I'm gonna use that one. Where'd it go? Or, oh wait, no, it might have just automatically... Oh yeah, wait, no, it automatically gave it. Holy fuck! My tongue is tied! Very badly. Holy shit. Okay, anyways. Let me check something real quick. I'm gonna put that back on. Bink! Let's see. I wonder if they're online yet. If not, then I'll have to do some stuff. But they should... What day is it? It is a Thursday. Okay. Hold up. Let's see. Oh no. Oh no. Well, it would seem that I might have to do this myself. Because I don't know if they're... I'm gonna send them to SpongeBob. Let's see if they're awake or not. This might be a funny situation. this could be a really, really, really funny situation because things might not be as it seems. Shit. Well, this isn't the first time y'all have seen my fucking friends list, so I'm gonna look real quick. Well then, so it would appear that that we might be in a bit of a pickle regarding the stream. Depending on how things go, we still have time. We still have time. Of course we have time. Shit. It would seem that they ain't on yet. So this could be an issue. Could be. We'll go hang around the Ghost Hotel for now. I'm just gonna basically wait in here. I will go and wait, because it might turn out that they might not be around, which means that I might have to pick some stuff and start reading them myself. Which could be very unfortunate. In many ways. We're not gonna sit in there, we're gonna go up there. Gonna make my way up. Hopefully not get jump scared. Because that would suck. And I've already ran the wrong way, basically. Wait, nope, we can get there from here. Good. This works. Get me up. So... this could be a funky situation. I'm gonna open up. Let's go to r/scare stores for now. Let's see what we have. Oh god, I'm almost on fire. Because we're supposed to have stories from Zoms, but here's the problem. If Zoms won't show up, or doesn't show up, and then we'll have to do something else, but they might be encountering issues with their internet, or they might be tired or something. Which is completely fine, things happen. But this could still be a bit of a interesting situation. I actually want to know what's playing on this. Intriguing. I don't know what that is, but I could check the link later. Ah. Go backwards. I know a lot of that is copyright, probably. I'm gonna let it play for now. We're gonna wait because we still have time. And in the meantime, I'm gonna yap about a few things. So they... we'll see what happens, basically. Because I didn't prepare for this. I have not prepared for a moment where Zoms would... if they do not appear, I have not prepared for that at all, but I think they will. I think they'll make it. At least I think so. But in case they don't, well, I'll have to improvise in that case. And I have no idea what I'm gonna do in that case. I could read the stories myself, like some random ones that I pick up. Ah! 100!
Yes, you came back from the deads of shame. Sleeper fish, happy sleeper fish, happy sleeper fish, happy sleeper fish, happy.
Hey! Hello, 100. Welcome back. How you doing? So here we have a funny little situation going on currently, Handred. This might be a bit too early to say, but currently I have no idea if Zom's power is out or something, or if they're just like, you know, tired as all hell. So we'll wait. We're currently in a map or world from last stream, basically, from the last VSE stream, called Ghost Hotel. We're currently sitting here. I decided to come here to wait for now, and there's a chance that I might get jump scared. There's a chance for that, which is why I'm looking around very nervously. But it also has good ambient. We have semi-good tunes playing over there. But if I don't know what I'll do if Zoms doesn't show up on time. So I am thinking I could read some stories myself at that point. Like, just go into r/scary stories or whatever the heck, pick one of these and then just start reading it, basically. And these will be like, I don't know, like short scary stories or something like that. I have no idea. I really don't know. And I didn't prepare for that kind of a situation. We could also do a community little, I could ask you guys if we could, like, we can change this basically from being a spooky scary story to being a chill out session and actually just go to the fish world. And we could hang around there and chat and make it into something where, you know, we can have a few buds show up. Basically to hang around and chat with them. We could alternatively also just go there, we can fish, and talk about random things that have happened, cool things that we've seen and everything else, and just chillax. Or I could go there, read some stories, whatever the heck, and, you know, do things like that. But we still have about 10 minutes before we're supposed to start. I believe they will get on. I'm gonna believe in that. But yeah, how are you, Handred? It's been a while. You've been a very EP boy, haven't you? What's been going on your end? I'm constantly alt tapping. You've just been extremely tired. Hey, that's fine. You haven't missed too much. I'm gonna be real. There was you saw the Dragon's Dogma stream where we dismantled the cult. Monday was God Eater. Basically found... You don't know? Hey, if you've been busy or things have been happening, that's completely fine. That's completely fine, Handred. Don't worry about it. I always tell this. Take care of your health first. Take your time. Make sure that you're rested, well-fed, whatever the heck. And if you are still feeling super tired and everything else, just go to bed and rest. That's why the VODs are there, so that people can watch them. And this week I've been feeling weird anyway. I was feeling weird anyways. Because on Monday, I felt like I had something that I was supposed to do or something, and it was bothering me so much that I actually ended stream a bit early than normal. Tuesday, I was still feeling extremely garbage, and after stream, I actually got a major headache. It was so bad, it actually debilitated me for a while. And I managed to solve that, luckily, midday through my own means. And then when Wednesday came in, we started playing Resident Evil 4. And surprisingly, it went kinda smoothly. I was actually in more high spirits even though I didn't sleep. Where's Jack? I was actually super energized, everything was going well and stuff. And now that we're here, I'm feeling a whole lot better. My body feels nice. My fingers don't feel like they're dying, my legs don't feel like they're dying, my head isn't exploding or anything else. I'm actually feeling kinda good. Yeah. I hope that you're feeling good, Handred, because this week has been weird for a lot of people. Same for anybody who's lurking out there. Just know that you should always take care of yourself first and foremost. Always take care of yourself first and foremost. Never be afraid of, like, you know, taking a break or saying that you're not feeling well. You know why? You couldn't stay awake when the God Eater stream happened, you was tired, but the other day you didn't know what happened. Was that tree always there? hold up. Uh-oh. Of course I'll forgive you. Don't worry about it, 100. It's fine. That's why the VODs exist. And I can always recap for ya. But I lost my train of thought completely because I started hearing spooky sounds. Where's the spooky ambient? I'm surrounded by them? Yes. Oh yeah. I'll put that back. Is it back down here? Because, yeah, that's why I hate trees. Yes. Also, this world, just to, like, recap what happened in, let's see. Thomas isn't still there. Oh god, what was I saying? I will gladly recap streams. I will gladly tell you what happened on them. I will do my best to always, like, keep everybody informed and everything else. If they want to. And, like I said, take care of yourself first and foremost. If you can't make it, that's fine. Just know that I am always worried and more, like... I will always tell you to take care of yourself the most, and I will always be happy seeing you, like, appear whenever you can. Because I know that these streams also happen late. Like, there's been other buddies that I haven't spoken to in ages, like, let's say, like, Mel. I haven't talked to Mel in a while. I actually spoke to one of my other buddies, Enigma, who has changed their name since 3 years ago. And I finally actually spoke to them for a tiny bit. I still need to catch up to some couple other dudes like Reynolds, aka Vega, Mr. Wheels, maybe? I think I still have them at it. I need to see if I can talk to Jaffa or Jaffem, maybe Giri Girenza, and a bunch of others. There's so many people that I need to reconnect with and just, like, ask them, like, how they've been doing and stuff. I really need to see if they still remember stuff. And I'm really sorry for always forgetting to, like, DM people. It is my bad. Because it's, like, I love talking to people. I love it a lot. Whenever I get a chat going, I love to go and, like, talk with them for ages. With anybody. In DMs, on Steam, in-game, anywhere. But, people get flooded out of basically my memory for a while, but I never truly forget about them. I just usually think that, oh, they're probably busy and everything else and just stuff like that, so I don't want to constantly DM every day, because I know how some people get also bothered if you just send them a DM every single day going like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? Some people actually do get bothered by that, and I understand it completely. It happens. We still got a few minutes. And I get it. I get it. I get that people can get very bothered by it, which is why I don't want to spam people a lot. But I do appreciate all of y'all whenever y'all step by. Or stop by, basically. But, nah. I'm a dingus, 100. I'm a dingus. I'm a pure, unfiltered dingus. I am a ghoul of the fishing world. Yeah, no words, 100. But yeah, to recap what happened Monday on God Eater, Julius started working on the autonomous God Ark soldiers with Rachel. We found out that they were using the plague patients basically as fuel for the God Eaters, or the God Ark soldiers. We busted into the Ark, saved them. Julius was basically betrayed by Rachel. Rachel is a manipulative bitch who has a Aragami who murdered her father. And that's basically where we are, and Julius has now mutated into some kind of a tree. And Paler Sakaki, the doctor and director of Fenrir, basically said that Juno, the pop idol singer who sang at Romeo's funeral, might be the next singularity that might destroy the entire world, the devouring apocalypse. Turns out she's not. Tuesday on Travel Agency, we went through, if I go to recently visited, we went through planes, islands, and hotels. So we went to test pilots to show that how stuff can, like, the old school test pilots, where people basically have been having this world up since 2020. It's been updated every year multiple times. Did I overstep my bound with Seal? Nope. Seal was busy doing their own thing. And we just kind of flew around there for a bit, went to check out the islands, and it was kind of eh. Went to check out a container capsule hotel, was kind of eh. There was a cool Skyward hangar hangout, an Imperfect Blue, which was really nice. The Flowers on Rain Hotel, the big ass airport, which was really fun to go through. That is a massive world. The Charlotte's Luminous, which was very beautiful, and then Ghost Hotel. Which is where we are currently. We are currently in here, a completely haunted place. It's a sandbox horror game, basically. You can chillax or stuff if you go to the right places. And then Resident Evil 4, I've been basically being a loot gremlin, and I've been screwing up, throwing or selling like the treasures and stuff without actually combining them to make most money. So I've been gimping myself. I've been using too much pistol ammo on stupid things, and I've been an idiot with the freaking puzzles and all that jazz. Yeah, okay, Zums is fine. Zums is going to, appear soon. They, Disco just had a seizure on them, and one of their cats got out and whatnot, and they just got it back in. So, we'll wait for them to appear, but yeah, we will be hearing stories from them, apparently. They are on their way now, so yippee! Stuff is good. So I can close that. That's good. Yeah, no worries. No worries, Andred. I will always do that. And you can always DM on Discord as well if you're like at any point in time to ask for any kind of recaps and stuff. I will gladly help out with that. I try my best to keep people up to date on basically everything, even though I don't do it professionally enough. Always talk about things like what's my favorite color. Ah, my favorite color, huh? Midnight Neon Metallic Blue. That is the specific color that I enjoy. That's creepy as fuck. Gotta put that down. Yes. Midnight Neon Metallic Blue. That is specifically the color that I love. It is really hard to describe how it looks, but if you played, what was it, Need for Speed Underground 2, I do believe? Then you will know exactly what it looks like, because it is one of the colors that you can actually use for your car, if you combine it correctly. And it is just the best damn thing ever. I absolutely freaking adore that color. I don't remember what your favorite color was, Handred. I have no memory of what it was. What was your favorite color in that case? Whoop. Sorry, just opening a monster. What was this? A Rio Punch. I was looking at the bottom can. I don't know why. Black? Just black? Okay, fair enough. Do you have any particular story behind why that is your favorite color? Because usually people have a story regarding these colors as well, and why they like them. Or an explanation of why they like the color. Heard a sound. Got spooked. Bruh. Imagine doing a full... Do you used to like red? Fair enough. Ooh, I just had a great idea. Doing a full, like, ghost investigation stream in this world would be super funny. Do you know, that actually could be a fun thing that we could do at some point as a community thing. Or maybe I could do it as a solo episode where I just show up here in VR, just grab the stuff and just put on the vintage filter. I can actually show what that would look like. So if I had the camera out like this, I could go into, not mask, filters. We could use this glitch filter and film an episode using that. You hated that it reminded me that your face was red from acne? Ah, fair enough. I wonder how well this would actually work in this. Like, I would carry this around and just be like, talking through it. Yeah, this could actually work. That could be kind of funny. There's other stuff as well. I could put it to being pixel. Oh god, this is so bad. Hello. You like pixels? Pixel stream. You like... Oh god. What about Trippy?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Billy Bob. I like to talk about flowers and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I used to have... I don't know, but I think my favorite colors used to be like red, green, and blue combined. But they were very specific shades of red, green, and blue. Very specific ones. I think specifically it was like vermilion red or crimson red, like this more darker tone of red. And the reason why I liked it was because if you spilled something on it, like let's say water, it made it look a little bit better even. As for blue, it was always... It wasn't light blue. I didn't like light blue, but I didn't like super dark blue either. It was somewhere on the darker side, but not fully dark. And green was more of the neon green. I liked neon green a lot. And even now, I like the color combination of red, blue, green. Those three colors go so well hand in hand. I do not know why. I think it's like the base color has to be red with a red outline to it, and then the green backdrop. Or like there's an extra outline, like a glow, like a green glow from the red. I think those three go hand in hand. I think it's like that. So it's blue, red, green. Even and clothing-wise, it would be blue, green, and then red. I think clothing-wise. So you would have the overall blue color with the red, like the red would be like the finishing color on it, and the green would be like the zippers and stuff. Yeah. Red, blue, green. Normally, when it's like, let's say, a graffiti that you do on a wall, those are the colors used for color television. Yeah, RGB. It's red, green, blue. Those are the primary ones that they use, yeah. They work so well that way. They work pretty damn well. It's actually surprising how some colors, depending on how you combine them, work hand in hand a lot. For example, if you look at this model that I'm in, hilariously enough, the black color complements yellow. The darker suit works with yellow, for example, or blonde pretty damn well. But it has to be very minute amounts of it. You can't really have it full out. And then, of course, you have, you know, a gray, like, underjacket, and then the white stripes, or gray white stripes. Those work as well. What the hell am I hearing in the background anyways? Sanji. Ah, God. Nah, I'm Rufus. I'm just Rufus. Don't make me bring out the sword. I'll beat you, whippersnapper. I got my weird-ass big sword here. Rufus Alberea. Ah. Sorry, my A key is being annoying. Yeah. That works pretty nicely. What the fuck am I hearing? Just gonna put that down. Let's get out over here. Oh yeah, I've been listening to the Romeo is a Dead Man soundtrack. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I've been listening to the soundtrack for Romeo is a Dead Man as well. This is not from Romeo is a Dead Man. This is from Shin Megami Tensei DX Liberation 2, which is a gacha game on the mobile phone. Has beautiful soundtrack, by the way. God, I love it. And God, I love listening to soundtracks from different games and like shows, movies, whatever the hell. They are so good. Like if we actually let me grab something from Romeo's a Dead Man real quick. What would be a good one? I'm just gonna click this real quick. Go here. I'm gonna pause it so it doesn't play, and let's grab. Oh, where is it? That's okay. But I don't want that one either. It's... Where is it? God, I'm trying to find it real quick. That's just boss. I don't want the boss stuff. That's the Nightmare Rotter one. New. God, why don't I just do it this way? Romeo is a Dead Man OST. Oh my god, Dave, taking away the thingamajiggy that I was trying to find. What the fuck? Oh, scary. Let's use Dark Jazz, for example. Let's grab this. Yeah, like listen to this, for example. This is from Romeo's Dead Man. Okay, the zombie is trying to check if they can get their shit working. There might be a problem, and they might call a rain check, which is fine. In which case, we will do our original plan, which is I'll read a couple stories that I think sounds good. Mood. Hell yeah. I really want Romeo's Dead Man now because of this soundtrack. Yeah. I'll read a couple stories in that case if Zoms cannot make it. And then we can hop on to the fishing world and just basically turn this into a hangout sesh. And I'll just rename the stream to a Scuffed Hangout, basically, or Scuffed Zill. Something like that. And I'll just yap about random things, stories and whatnot while we fish. And we can just have a little chill time then, because, you know, things happen and sometimes things don't go according to plan. And then we'll just be basically back next week with stories. But yeah. You can literally hear, because I'll... Yeah, you know what? We'll do that. We'll actually... If Zoms cannot make it, we will take this stream and we will use it to talk about soundtracks. We'll talk about music. We'll talk about different things and how it works hand in hand with visuals, cues, and all sorts of cool shit, basically. We'll do that in that case. Because it's easy now since I'm on desktop, and basically I don't mind if there's one stream that we don't VOD. Because, you know, playing soundtracks and stuff can easily get a VOD muted. Very easily, because, you know, there's, you know, copyright materials, blah, 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 I understand. But, if it doesn't get muted, we can possibly put that up. Of course, it will contain this segment of, you know, the scuffedness that happens. It's gonna have it anyways, because once Zamzo shows up, it then reads the story. If Zamzo shops and reads the stories, it will still contain this 35 minutes of me yapping about random shice and whatnot. But God. That sounds so good. Like, fucking Romeo's a Dead Man has such a good soundtrack. It's so nice. Ah! Now, let's see. I'm not gonna play that. I hate that. I'll even talk about some, like, shows that have an amazing soundtrack. For example, Blast Writer or Arc Knights. We'll, like, go through all of these and just, like, yeah, but it always makes you wish he would die again. Wish that Romeo would die again. Oh boy. Bro, there's even the funny, like, mashup songs and everything else that people do, which is really funny. Let's grab... Well, what do I want in the background? Ooh, I know. That is creepy as all hell. We will put the Casa di Pineapple in the background. Hey, one last thing about colors. You actually like yellow, black, and white because of Roxas? Oh, Kingdom Hearts Roxas? Not a bad combo. Not a bad combo at all. I know this music is not perfect for this area at all, but it's fine. Yeah, I found, like, Roxas was the main protag of Kingdom Hearts 2, right? I think? Am I mistaken? Hold on. So you had Sora, you had Roxas, you have... Was it Sora again? Was Kingdom Hearts 2 Roxas? The main character of it? Or was that still Sora? Because all I remember is the story is so convoluted that Roxas was Sora's nobody. Because you had to play, what was it, a mobile, like a mobile phone game, or was it a Game Boy game of Kingdom Hearts before 2? Protagonist of the Pod, yeah. Fair enough. Because the first game was Sora dealing with all the stuff, which is setting up to, like, nobodies, what are the nobodies, etc. And then after that, there was a side game where it's found out that Sora actually has a nobody that at the end of the game split off from Sora, I think, and that became Roxas, who has their now own personality, etc. And it started growing from there, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 happens, and then 600 other things happen. Oh, it's time. Let's go. Bink! Something like that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, seems to be that it's time for the horror stories. Yippee! Let's go! Let's fucking go! Yeah, it's convoluted. It gets really convoluted at the end of the day. What the fuck?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, friends. Apologies for my lateness. I've had a hell of a fucking night. Let's get into this shit. Oh, Jesus. Oh man, where do I even begin? So first, it turns out that my fucking, I got woken up by my in-laws screaming again, yippee, and then I got notified that my cat, one of my fucking cats, was fucking outside. So I had to track his goofy ass down, and he's a black cat, so it was a whole fucking thing. And then my computer was not working, Discord did not want to send my messages. It was a whole thing. Good God.
Everything basically going to crap. 100 says hello.
Hello. Yes, I got some really nice stories for you guys tonight. I'm very excited for it.
Oh, I'm gonna go this side, because then we don't have that banner back there.
Exactly. Alright.
Is Big Jung-Hoos okay?
Now you wanna... Yeah, she's fine. She and then Mochi are fine. It was my male cat that got out. He has a history of escaping.
What was it, Binks?
Mm-hmm. He only has a history of escaping because of my fucking in-laws. They think that like, oh, well he comes back, so it's fine.
It's not
No.
fine.
It's not. It's not fine.
That's how you lose cats.
Anyways, exactly. Anyhow, fucking. Of course, for you guys, I am always gonna be as committed as, you know, physically possible to bringing you these spooky stories, no matter what. So, let this be a testament to that. We got some good stories lined up for tonight. Let me see here, make sure everything's good. It was. I tell you what, it was also a bit of a struggle to find some good stories because you always gotta try and weed out the really bad ones.
Yeah, you have to like
From,
have a
like-
little look and see that they're not like just a quick shit post that's been just upvoted because of memes.
Yeah, basically. That's basically what it's like. Cause I've considered reading like quote unquote joke stories like Jeff the Killer, but first of all, there's so many different versions of it. Second of all, it's just not good. It's not good.
It really ain't. Also, apparently, Handred had a chihuahua called Galetta. Or they still do.
Oh man, fucking
That's awesome. Yeah,
Galleta. Galleta means cookie.
Cookie!
Cookie.
That's a good name for a chihuahua. Yeah, there's like,
Yeah,
when
exactly.
talking about horror stories and everything else, I've never been too much of a fan of these fan-made, quote unquote, because Jeff the Killer is literally just a fan-made fucking obsessive killer that people created
Uh-huh.
because they wanted to simp on something that wasn't, you know, the original like Slender Man and stuff. She's not with you anymore. You said she'd come back because she never did. Yikes!
Aw, poor thing.
Sorry to hear that, Handred. My condolences.
Mm. Alright. So, here we go. I got some nice, good stories for you guys tonight. First, we're gonna start with one that I have actually never read. It is called There's Drumming in the Clouds. Phase 1. The Arrival. The photograph arrived without explanation. It showed some kind of mass, dark gray and pulsating. It was just hovering far above the North Atlantic. It resembled a cyclone, but there was no eye of this storm, no rotation, just layers, like folds of gauze padding, stacked and suspended. The sky around it was eerily clear. That was the first impossibility. Dr. Mayred Finn saw the image as 6:32 a.m. It was forwarded to her personal account from an encrypted ministry server. The subject line read only, "Come in immediately." Dr. Finn arrived at the North Strand Climate Monitoring Facility before sunrise. The conference room was already full, unusual for a Wednesday. Technicians, military liaisons, 2 senior meteorologists, and a man from the Department of Anomalous Phenomena, a department that, officially, didn't even exist. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes. They just stared at the image projected on the main wall, a still frame from a weather satellite feed. I've never seen a static formation at that altitude before, Mirad said, her eyes locked on the impossible image. How high is it exactly? 68 kilometers, one of the technicians said, adjusting his glasses. She blinked. Mesosphere. Correct. This doesn't make any sense, she murmured to herself, irritated by confusion. One of the meteorologists stood. It's your job to make sense of it, Dr. Finn. When was it first reported? She responded, ignoring the man's tone. It's been there for 6 hours. It just showed up. The military liaison cleared his throat. spotted by a satellite over the Atlantic, cross-checked by a second pass. We thought it might be weapon debris. It's not. Civil flights are already diverting. Maritime routes, too. On the monitors, numbers scrolled. Temperatures, wind speeds, strange depth readings. The mass wasn't moving. Winds tore it at it hundreds of kilometers per hour, but it didn't rotate, didn't shear, just remained impossibly still. It's not a weather event, the meteorologist declared with a shaky voice and worry in his eyes. What is it? Asked the liaison. No one had an answer. And by noon, the whole world had seen it. Footage taken by commercial pilot had gone viral. A band of dark mist stretching from horizon to horizon, bloated and heavy, blotting out the sun. It covered a region roughly the size of North America and appeared to be growing. The shadow the cloud cast was absolutely immeasurable. On a clear day, the light would dim like a solar eclipse. The sky turned dull gray. Shadows vanished and birds fell silent. Some areas experienced perpetual dusk. The night, imposing in its darkness. People on the ground began reporting changes as well. Strange, static humming in their teeth of all places. Tension headaches and a persistent low pressure in the ears. Online forums exploded. #TheCloud trending within an hour. Dr. Finn kept working. She had trained herself to remain clinical, methodical. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that the air in the lab had gone stale, like bread being left out for too long. Something was very wrong, and not a single thinking brain on the planet could provide answers to this impossible situation. At exactly 9:43 p.m. GMT, the first sound was recorded. A low-frequency thump, thump. Deep and distant. And then another. 2 hours apart. Then again. And again. Thunder? Someone offered, but the radar was clear. Not a single weather system for 1,000 kilometers. The thump came again. Now only minutes apart. Mirad sat perfectly still, headset on, watching the sound wave roll across the monitor. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't seismic. It was airborne, high above their heads. Jesus, whispered a young intern nearby. It's coming from inside the cloud. By midnight, it had settled into a rhythm. A slow, deep, drumming sound. Thump thump, thump thump, thump thump. Regular, relentless, as though something far, far above was knocking from the other side of the sky. Project Cerberus fail. Field journal entry. Dr. Mirad Finn, lead meteorologist. Classification level, Omega. Day 1, 11:42 p.m. GMT. The cloud remains stationary. Its scale is beyond measurement. Its thick fog goes beyond our atmosphere. The sound began tonight. Regular pulses, low frequency. Origin unknown but triangulated within the formation. The collection of all data is incomplete at this time. Personal note. It is not weather. It is not man-made. We don't know what this is. Phase 2. The sound of God. By morning, the drumming was heard all across the entire northern hemisphere. It was no longer limited to the monitoring stations. People across Europe, the eastern United States, parts of Western Africa, and even as far as Argentina reported hearing it. Not just through the air, but through their bodies. In the base of the skull, the hollows of the chest, and behind the eyes. The sound was felt just as much as it was heard. Entire cities reporting the vibrations. Hospitals began to fill. Not from injury, but from confusion. Migraines, tinnitus, bleeding noses even. Some people even began to lose their minds, tormented by the sound they just couldn't escape. Others seemed unfazed by the strange phenomenon. A woman in Bordeaux began convulsing and screamed, "I hear it! I hear it! I hear it!" before falling completely unconscious. At 1:06 a.m. GMT, Dr. Finn watched from the roof of the North Strand facility as the light changed once again. Not dimmer. Not quite. She struggled to name it. Shadows had lost their edges. Buildings looked less flattened, almost. Colors were muted, like the world had been submerged in water. She raised her hand and stared at her palm. Veins like rivers on a map. Her skin was paler than before. Hairs on her arms stood up. The drumming continued. "Dr. Frian?" The man from the Department of Anomalous Phenomena pushed through the steel door behind her. "My name is Jonas, ma'am. I've been meaning to speak to you." He paused beside her, eyes turned upward to the dreadful cloud. It swallowed the entire skyline, hiding stars and the moon alike. "Quite the view," he murmured. "What can I do for you, Jonas?" she asked, her tone clipped, unwilling to indulge in small talk. "You know who I work for?" She nodded once, offering him a cigarette from a near empty pack. "No thanks, I quit. Fresh air for me." He laughed awkwardly as Dr. Finn let her smoke. "They're relocating me," he said. "Opposite side of the world. A counterpart facility in the southern hemisphere. They want simultaneous readings, mirrored data sets. Honestly, it feels like I'm just being moved out of the blast zone." He paused for a moment. "If this thing is global, if it keeps growing, we need to know if it behaves the same way everywhere else. Otherwise, we're flying blind." Finn studied him. The shadows across his face blurred and trembled in the wrong light. "So you'll be chasing the other horizon?" "Something like that." He gave a thin smile, but his eyes stayed locked on the sky. "I'll send you everything I find. Maybe, between the two of us, we'll make sense of it." Her gaze lingered on him a moment longer than she intended, then she looked back to the cloud. "Maybe." The drumming echoed, low, cavernous, endless. Neither of them spoke after that. The emergency broadcast systems went live just after noon. News anchors read pre-written statements. No questions, no speculations. "Authorities are aware of the atmospheric anomaly currently positioned over the Atlantic. Remain indoors, limit direct observation of the phenomenon. Further information will be provided when available." The feeds cut off after about 90 seconds. Black screens revealed the concerned reactions of the population. Social media boiled over with conspiracy, prophecy, and even fear. A viral clip from New York showed commuters frozen in the middle of an intersection, all exiting their vehicles, all staring up at once. Dozens of them, like they heard a voice. Then, some began to cry. Others fell to their knees in prayer, all united by the oppression of complete and total helplessness. Government helicopters swarmed beneath the clouds, like flies drawn to the stench of death. Another clip from a Nigerian cargo ship showed the cloud expanding, spilling outward in curling tendrils. Vast sections of dark mist swirled within the cloud, like black sand in clear water. The crew's final log simply read, "God has returned to us." At 2:42 a.m., Dr. Finn stepped into the soundproof chamber and listened to the unfiltered live feed. She sat in the center of the small white room, strapped on over-ear monitors, and listened. There it was. Thump thump, thump thump, thump thump. Drumming from the cloud. Even clearer now, more spacious, more thoughtful. There were pauses between the beats, pauses long enough to create the illusion it had stopped. Before it came again, she felt it deep inside of her rib cage, rattling her very organs, her heart sinking to the aerial phenomenon. The drumming had become a presence, not a sound alone, but a tidal force pressed against the earth. Every beat made her stomach lurch as if something vast was stirring within the planet itself. Then, it shifted. The sound broke free of rhythm. A single, elongated groan, wet and guttural, poured from the cloud. It rippled across the atmosphere like thick, viscous liquid sloshing into every crack or crevice it could find. The ground itself vibrating under the sonic pressure. It was enormous, impossible, something malignant, something so vast that its moan reshaped the very sky. The pitch was almost beyond hearing, subsonic yet torturously present. Low, dragging, reverberating with its weight of mass that she just could not comprehend. The groan slithered and pulsed like a wet crack of muscle tearing, sinews stretching, a predator yawning across the heavens. Her chest heaved, her stomach twisted. Her fingers tingled with the pressure of sound. Her mind screamed against comprehension. The noise was alive, shapeless yet unaware. It hung in the room like a storm that could devour everything, pausing only to let its presence sink in further into her bones before dragging itself back into a wet, shuddering growl. She ripped the headphones off, trembling, sweat prickling across her skin. The chamber was silent, but not really. The sound lingered, printed on her ribs and skull, crawling through every drop of her blood. Was that a voice? The intern, monitoring the signal, turned to her, pale and crying. No, Dr. Finn whispered. It wasn't a voice. She swallowed. What was it? She stood slowly and left the room without speaking another word. The drumming resumed as normal. Project Cerberus Vale, field journal entry. Dr. Mayrid Finn, lead meteorologist, classified level Omega. Day 2, 3:17 a.m. GMT. The cloud remains stationary. Estimated diameter exceeds 5,000 kilometers. Audio patterns continue, rhythmic, biological, possibly even vocal. Global symptoms reported: neurological disruption, auditory hallucinations, emotional volatility, mass hysteria. Thousands of casualties across different countries, burst eardrums and internal hemorrhaging. Public unrest increasing, governmental control deteriorating. A plan was initiated to obtain a visual of the sound source. Jonas' team ran 3 LiDAR sweeps from orbit, from a U-2 spy plane, and from a modified weather balloon. Orbital scan. Returned no depth readings. Not 0, just nothing. As if it struck open air for 1,000 meters, then refused to return. Plane scan. Logged from one frame of internal structure. Looked like a bone. A moment later, the image glitched, reloaded, and showed a perfect sphere the size of a mountain. Then, static. Balloon feed. 20 minutes of telemetry before loss of signal. Internal layers visible. Fibrous. Twitching. Final frame. A shape in the center. Spindled, elongated, symmetrical, but wrong. Our analysis ran it through edge detection software. The results were disturbing. It resembled a face, but only when you didn't look at it directly. A convergence of lines, folds, and textures that formed something odd. One technician collapsed during image review. Said she felt like it could see her. I saw it too. Just once. It didn't scare me, it just made me feel ashamed. We've locked the files. Project code, Cerberus Veil. Access, visual AI systems only. No human review permitted. Effective immediately. Personal note. Jonas agrees. There's something in there. He's gone south, into the dark. I don't know when I'll see him again.
Greetings, relative.
I think it's stretching. Phase 3. The arms. Dr. Finn jolted from her sleep, her phone vibrating on the steel table next to her. She had passed out at her desk. Overworked and exhausted, she grabbed her phone. The screen read, Jonas, DAP. Finn? Jonas's voice came, sharp and urgent. Are you seeing the latest readings? Her pulse quickened. The cloud had been behaving differently. The drumming was heavier, more insistent. I'm watching. It's intense, but nothing new yet. Intense? His laugh was bitter. Intense doesn't cover this. The subsonic pulses, every monitoring station on every continent, they're aligning. The underside of the cloud, it's splitting along a straight vertical seam. The satellites caught it just before it closed again. Dr. Finn frowned. A seam? Like, it's preparing to open, and I don't mean metaphorically. His voice dropped, urgent. There's a pattern in the pulses, rhythms building. I don't know how else to say this. The drumming, it's a fucking heartbeat, Mirad. And it's getting faster. You need to be ready. Something is happening. Whatever you do, don't go outside. Whatever happens next, it's not just a sound. It's alive. Thump thump. Thump thump. Thump thump. She felt it in her chest before she could reply. Deep vibration in bone and blood, a wet resonance of something enormous stirring. Jonas, Stay calm, lock yourself in. Go to the bunker now. The monitors are there. You
Uh-oh.
Whatever you do, do not fucking step outside. Then the line went dead. A heartbeat later, across the northern hemisphere, a vertical fracture tore through the sky like a wound. It widened with deliberate slowness. Layers of mist peeled back in fleshy folds. Shadows deepened, bending the space around it. A deafening, sticky squelch like tearing flesh echoed across the hemisphere. Behind it was a darkness that seemed to breathe, vast and unfathomable. A darkness that bent perception itself. No camera could capture it. No eye on the planet was built to perceive such a biblical event. Without tremor or trumpet, the cloud opened. What lay inside was not lightless, but unknowable. Some said it was a mouth. Some said it was a wound. And from it came the sound again. Louder now, clearer, something wet and vast and pulsing. Something impossible. Not breathing. Mawing. Across the world, people looked up in unison. Some screamed, some dropped to their knees. Others stood still and just watched, transfixed as the first of the arms descended. Long, tapered limbs like serpents, oily, black and glistening, emerging from the wounds in the sky in slow spirals. Some were miles long, others kilometers. They swam through the air like they were underwater, languid, hypnotic, almost elegant. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. They moved across the sky like a nest of worms poured through a funnel, coiling, searching. One by one, the arms reached down into the earth, slithering through cities, across oceans, over fields. It didn't take long for the first to be taken. A man in Tokyo screamed as an arm squirmed its way around him. His fingers dug into the strange meat as the grip around his waist tightened, pulling him skyward. His cries split the morning air. In a European city, a young couple ran through the streets hand in hand. The woman tripped, an arm twisted around her ankle. Her boyfriend tried to pull her free. The arm retracted, twisting her upward with such force that his hands tore away from hers. He fell on his back, begging, pleading, only for the arm to return for him. In a Venezuelan village, a mother was snatched from her courtyard. Her young daughter clung desperately to her leg, screaming for her mother to come back down. Her tiny hands grasped her mother's ankle in desperation to save her. The child's fingers could not hold. They were ripped upwards, hundreds of feet in a matter of seconds. Her mother's body ascended, twisting elegantly like a dancer in midair. But gravity did not forgive the child. She fell, limbs flailing, hair whipping across her face, colliding with the unforgiving earth. The sickening thump echoed across the village. Some were taken screaming. Others laughed, lifted as if ascending into a dark ecstasy of some kind. Cultists, convinced of divine favor, threw themselves toward the putrid appendages, arms outstretched, pleading to be taken. Their voices raised in hymns or chants of joy, begging for rapture. The arms took only a few of them, with the same cold precision, pulling them upward as their ecstasy transformed into terror mid-flight. Across continents, people fought, clawed, resisted, but it was futile. Each arm performed the same ritual, one human at a time, spiraling upward toward the yawning darkness. Then, returning to the earth for its next selection. Cities became theaters of chaos, streets emptied in seconds, traffic snarled and stalled. Windows rattled under the roar of thousands being drawn skyward as humanity unleashed below. Parents clawed for their children, children screamed for their parents. People tried to leap from balconies, bridges, and rooftops only to be grabbed mid-fall. Their last moments a tangled dance of limbs and terror. In remote fields, farmers and herders watched as the arms swept across the horizon. Livestock scattered, terrified, the ground shaking under the thrumming resonance of the arms. One farmer caught a glimpse of his wife being lifted, screaming, crying his name. He tried to run. The arm retracted and she was gone, leaving him kneeling in the mud, screaming into the indifferent sky. Over the first 12 hours, over 40 million people were gone. More than the entire population of Canada. By 48 hours, estimates climbed past 90 million. Entire nations devoured by the sky. Children, The elderly, the healthy, the sick, criminals, priests, lovers, the lost. Everyone. The arms moved like a living tide, slow but inexorable. Elegant in motion, but utterly grotesque in function. Each human was treated as a singular prize, twisted upward toward the infinite. The process horrifyingly meticulous. Dr. Finn watched from the bunker as the monitors flared with the streams of abductions, faces contorted in panic, joy, or disbelief. She could hear them through the cameras, screams and prayer that layered upon one another like a living symphony of terror. The arms paused briefly over cities, observing, coiling and uncoiling. Their thick veins pulsate. They seemed to savor the fear. Then, with chilling patience, they selected again, dragging the living toward the maw. Over the 57 hours, the northern hemisphere emptied in a relentless, mechanical, almost ritualistic harvest. Every arm returned repeatedly to the sky's wound, each human plucked and lifted until the air was thick with echoes of terror and awe. By the final hour, Dr. Finn could only stare at the screens, utterly numb. Arms paused at last, holding their harvests aloft, for a long silent moment as if counting, observing, savoring. Then they began the slow, deliberate retreat, one by one, carrying their captives toward the unknowable darkness that had given them form. Over 4 grueling hours, the sky had closed, and survivors emerged from false shelters. The world was left in silence. Only the sound of the drums remained. Thump thump, thump thump, thump thump. Project Cerberus Vale, Field Journal Entry. Dr. Murid Finn, Lead Meteorologist. Classification Level, Omega. Day 3, 11:11 p.m. GMT. The formation opened. An aperture. Estimated diameter is 3,000 kilometers across. Arms, tongues, perhaps, emerged. Thousands of them. Movement suggests intelligence, not random. Selection appears non-biological. We can't predict it. I watched them be taken. God forgive me. We tried everything. Interference, signal jamming, sonic weapons. Russia even sent a nuke. To hell with the aftermaths of that. It didn't go off. It was just swallowed by the cloud. The arms were not affected. The world is hollow now. Monitors lie dead, their screens frozen with faces I will never, ever forget. Even the saved recordings fail to convey the scale of what just happened. The arms, the screams, the silence that followed. Entire populations taken with the precision of a surgeon, the cruelty of a predator, the indifference of an animal. 90 million more. Perhaps even 100 million. I can't be certain. The northern hemisphere is a graveyard, with no corpses, and yet the sky is calm. Deceptively calm. The wound has closed. The drum continues. Always beneath everything, a low, insistent pulse that cannot and will not be ignored. Personal note. I don't know what to do next. Every theory, every model, every calculation is meaningless against this. We are observers of an event. We are its remnants, survivors only in a technical sense. In every other way, we are all gone. There's nothing to fight, nothing to flee, only to record, to bear witness. And I will. Till the end. What else is there to do? Phase 4. The Belch. 1 month and 14 days passed. No arms, no movement from the sky. The cloud remained, hanging impossibly still above the Atlantic like a wound that refused to heal. Most nations had abandoned any attempt to engage with it. Some still broadcast official statements, hollow, robotic reassurances, but no one listened. The world had been held in place, breathless, afraid to look up. Held hostage by our new god. Cities went dark, markets crashed, faiths fractured, people starved, millions gathered in open fields, begging to be taken, begging for their suffering to end. Millions took their own lives in the face of the inevitable. Others locked their doors and prayed to just be forgotten. And despite it all, Dr. Mirad Finn stayed. She slept inside the bunker beneath the North Strand climate facility. She hadn't left in weeks. The others were gone. Some taken when the arms descended, some fled, some too broken to continue. She kept her notes, her logs, her rituals of data and control, but every day it grew harder to believe that any of it mattered. Finn's console crackled to life at 3:58 a.m. GMT. The signal was faint, washed in static, but the voice on the other end was unmistakable. Finn! Finn! Jonas said, quick and hushed, like he was afraid the sound itself might carry. Please, tell me you're awake. I'm awake. Her voice was brittle, the syllables clipped. She had been awake for days. What is it? I've tracked something, he said. Pressure readings from the South Atlantic buoy network. They're tanking. Not a storm, not a current shift, it's like the air itself is leaking. You've said that before. This is different. His breathing was uneven, shaky. The drop, it isn't local, it's global. Everything is bleeding toward the clouds. That wind's everything. It's like pulling, like it's... He stopped himself and said it anyway. Like it's inhaling. Finn exhaled through her nose. We don't know what it's doing. I do know. Jonas shot back, voice tightening. It's hungry. It's been patient, but... A low laugh broke out that wasn't joy. Christ, I can't believe we're still pretending this is about data. This is about survival, Jonas, she said, doubting her own words. Is it? Jonas snapped. There was a pause before he spoke again. We're all dead anyway. It's just a matter of time before it gets hungry again. And when it does... Trailed off, static filling the gap. You've seen the fields. You've seen the ones begging for it to take them. That's not living. That's meat, waiting to be picked up. Stop. Why? Why? His voice cracked. You want the truth, Mirad. There is no stopping it. There's no bargaining. We're not even ants to it. Ants get notes before they get stepped on. This thing... He stopped abruptly. The next sound, a sharp hiss in the line. Jonas? Silence. She waited there for another 3 seconds, then set the receiver down, her fingers trembling against the console. She clasped her hands together, lowered her head, and the first time in her life, she began to pray. She waited. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. At exactly 4:17 a.m. GMT, 1 month and 14 days since the cloud arrived, the sky opened again. No warning, no signal, just a sudden shifting of the cloud's center, folds drawing back, parting like lips peeled open by invisible hands. The drumming was constant, but this time, something new came. The sound began low, wet, rolling like a cauldron of bile tipping somewhere beyond the stratosphere. The pressure dropped. The wind died. Then came a vast, guttural exhalation that seemed to surge from the planet's very core and shatter the sky above. A noise like the entire sky was dry heaving, viscous and phlegm-soaked, the kind of sound that makes the stomach knot before the ears understand. A single cataclysmic guttural bellow that cracked windows on every continent and shattered the upper atmosphere. The ground shook, tides recoiled, the birds fell from the sky. It wasn't just sound, it was force, a pressure wave of wet breath and raw heat like an open furnace filled with rotting flesh. It swept the globe within minutes. People clutched their heads and screamed as their ears bled. Animals bolted and dropped dead mid-run. Birds fell in flocks. Machines died. Satellites blinked out. Those at the epicenter could only scream as the force burst them into nothingness. Then, the smell. A stench so vast, so cellular, it soaked through walls. It crawled into lungs and stayed there, a taste of spoiled meat and copper. People vomited. Others tore at their flesh, trying to escape it. Most were dead in seconds. Then came the blood. From deep within the beast, beyond the gauze and folds of mist, something ruptured. Pressure valve, gullet, a wound. No one knows. A tidal wave of thick, arterial blood expelled with such volume and speed that it felt like a monsoon rain over half the globe. Red soaked the ocean and rivers. Red splashed across rooftops and deserts and jungles. Half the earth painted in blood. It steamed where it landed, hot and thick like tar, and it reeked of iron and something sickly sweet. Something wrong. Some said they heard whispers in the rain. The clouds peeled back, and for the first and only time, the being was seen. Truly seen. For exactly 93 seconds, the sky was clear. Not in fragments, not distorted. It filled the sky. It was the sky. Its shape defied thought, impossibly symmetrical, yet shifting as though the universe itself was trying and failing to remember it. Its surface was chaos of textures, pinkish gray membranes that pulsed with a rhythm older than time, bone plate ridges spiraling in geometries our minds could not hold, and spindled nerves that writhed like lightning frozen mid-strike. Each wrinkle, each twitch seemed to hum with awareness, as if the cosmos itself had been stitched into its very flesh. Stars studding its blood. its face, or what could have possibly passed for one, stared down through a million lidless, goat-like eyes. Some were as vast as mountains, some flickered like dying stars, all simultaneously seeing and knowing. Our thoughts recoiled, our vision trembled, and yet we could not look away. And then it did something impossible. It smiled. No teeth, no lips, no gesture that humans could recognize, just a slow, dreadful unfurling of facial tissue, an imitation of something it had only ever observed in our species, a suggestion of amusement aimed at the futility of existence. The motion folded in on itself in ways that should have torn it apart, yet held. We felt it not just in our eyes, but in our blood, in our very marrow, in our cells, in the corners of thought we didn't know exist. And then the sky swallowed itself one more. But the memory lingered. Shapes impossible to describe etched themselves into our very brain matter. Geometry that should not exist haunted our dreams. The faint, impossible smile echoed in every shadow we ever crossed again. Silence fell. Not peace, but silence. And then nothing. No arms, no sound. Just the repetition of fear felt through the drum of the cloud. The wind returning at last. The stench never faded, never fully gone. The rain, red like rubies, soaked into everything. No government spoke publicly again after that. People stopped going outside. Entire towns were found empty. Dead. Others worshipped, others ended their lives. The world waited. Project Cerberus Vale. Field journal entry. Dr. Mirid Finn. Lead meteorologist. Classification level Omega. Day 45. 7:02 a.m. GMT. Against all odds. It almost belched. I don't know how else to describe it. It expelled something vast and foul into our atmosphere. Not an attack, not a gesture of dominance, a function. A bodily function. Like it forgot we were even here. The sound, I cannot put it into words. I felt it in the roots of my teeth, in the gap between my cells. It broke something in the sky. The smell was still here, clinging to the vents, to my skin. It soaked its way into the bunker. Blood is everywhere. We've confirmed it's organic, human, and something else. For 93 seconds, it let us see it. I don't think we were supposed to. I don't think it cares. I haven't slept since. I don't believe anyone is even left to read this, but I'm still writing. There's no scientific language for what's happening. This is not an anomaly. This is a presence. This is an extinction event. Phase 5. Afterbirth. It began to harden. Not all at once, but gradually. Day by day. As the blood congealed under heat and rain. The bright red stains that had covered oceans, cities, forests, darkened, thickened with reddish clots. Then it began to bond. What had first been described as organic blood now revealed itself to be something more a precursor. A fluid waiting to become. On the 15th day after the belch, the first major surface scan from what remained of the Helios satellites returned. Images of a continuous sheet forming across the Atlantic basin, fibrous, pale, ridged in places like cooled wax spread over the surface of the Earth. At first, it seemed like sediment or ice, but it flexed. Beneath solar radiation, it tightened. Beneath lunar light, it swelled. Seismic equipment registered subtle movement, microscopic contractions as if breathing through the crust. The red had become a pinkish gray. The pinkish gray was becoming skin. A skin that now stretched, uninterrupted, from Portugal to the eastern edge of the Caribbean. The scientists who remained debated this transformation in hushed, mechanical tones. No conclusions were reached. There was no baseline, no comparative models. But Dr. Mirad Finn understood. This was not an invasion. This was not divine punishment. This was gestation. Earth, or what remained of it, was being blanketed in something alive. Not absorbed, not consumed. Prepared. And then, at 8:46 p.m. GMT, on the 46th day, the cloud moved. It shifted without a sound, without storm, without effort. Not blown, not carried, not pulled by gravity. It simply drifted. As if an unseen cord had been cut. As if the process in the West had reached some kind of threshold. It took 6 hours to traverse the ocean, 6 hours of silence. People in Asia and Australia watched it approach, the spiraling gauze blotting out the sky as if it was swallowing it whole. They had seen the videos. They knew what would come. And still, they watched. Some hoped it would pass. It didn't. At 2:17 local time, the cloud settled above the Indian Ocean. The sky began to open again, and the arms began their terrible descent. Project Cerberus Vale, field journal entry. Dr. Mirad Finn, lead meteorologist. Classification level Omega, day 46, 11:44 p.m. GMT. Cerberus Vale, final transmission. The blood is not inert. It is a matrix forming a tissue, something between placenta and a cocoon, still soft in parts but solidifying. Already 3/4 of the Atlantic sea floor is covered in a single sheet. Our instruments can't pierce it. It's disgustingly warm. It pulses every 7 minutes. It is alive. The cloud has moved to the Indian Ocean. Initial signs suggest the process is starting again. The same pattern. Same altitude, same shape, same silence. I believe this is reproductive behavior, a life cycle, almost. This thing, or a system, or entity, whatever this thing is using atmosphere to show itself. It does not see us, it does not hear us, it does not need us. We were not chosen, we were not rejected, we were incidentally present. What we thought was an anomaly was just a phase. Part of something older, larger. Maybe 1,000,000 years old. Maybe eternal. Doesn't matter. What matters is what's being left behind. A blanket, a membrane, a womb stretched across the earth. There is no rescue coming. There is no top of the food chain. There is only the shape behind the clouds and what it leaves in its wake. I am writing this from a world already half covered in skin, already half dead. Tomorrow, I will step outside and feel it for myself. I want to know if it responds. I want to know if it knows I'm here. End log. Phase 6. Final breath. The surface of the planet is no longer visible. A thick, swirling fog blankets every inhospitable continent, every ocean, rising miles and miles into the sky. It doesn't move with the wind, it ignores the weather, it simply clings, dense, luminous, and unnaturally still. Satellite feeds, what few remain, show the same impossible formations above the Earth's surface. Layered mist spiraling, but unmoving. No rotation, no eye. Just folds, just gauze. Stacked, suspended. Jonas no longer checks the time. He hasn't for days. His oxygen mask hisses its final, shallow breaths, each one thinner than the last. The generators have gone silent. The lights burn in only intermittent flickers, casting the facility in a pulse of dim, ghost-like hues. Every room is empty. Everyone else is dead. Jonas lies flat on the cold, concrete floor, cheek pressed against it. One hand spread wide as if to hold the earth steady. His lips forming soundless words. But he stops. He doesn't need words. He only needs to listen. Thump. 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 A heartbeat. It was in the cloud. It was in the sky. And now it's here, beneath his bones, inside the crust, deep in the dark belly of the world. Jonas let out a broken laugh that cracked into a sob. His eyes glistened, unfocused, staring at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the sky above. There are two of them now. He whispers, just barely audible. The fog outside pulses with a faint internal light. Not lightning, not fire. Something vascular, something alive. His throat tightens, his chest is heavy. The hiss of his mask is a thin trickle of air, barely enough to maintain hope. He pulls it away, lets it fall behind him. The silence rushes in. He smiles, weak and delirious, teeth streaked with blood from biting his tongue, raw in his sleep. We were the womb. Jonas had never been a religious man. He used to scoff at prayer, at a ritual. But now, on the floor of a dying world, the last man standing, a gun trembling in his hand, he mouths the words anyway. Fragments of hymns, half-remembered psalms, apologies, and no one. He turns the gun on himself, comforted by the realization that it'll all be over soon. The fog above grows brighter, its folds pulsing with rhythm, veins like lungs. Jonas closes his eyes. a weight of suffocation pressing him into the floor. His last thought is not of escape, not of resistance, only awe. Far beyond Earth, in the silence of space, the first cloud drifts on, searching for the next world. The Earth exhales its final breath and becomes something new. And that was There's Drumming in the Clouds.
That was a long one.
That was, in fact, a long one, but it was absolutely sensational. What a amazingly grotesque form of not only body horror, in my opinion, but also cosmic horror. God, what a perfect balance of like seemingly biblical proportion, but also like cosmic nonsense that is just far beyond comprehension. I can't even like succinctly put it into words how just mind-boggling that shit is. It was
Yeah,
perfect.
at the start
I loved
of
it was
started
great.
sounding like those usual stories of like the trumpeter appearing and everything else, and I was just about to be like, oh, here we go again. Because it always
But
usually goes there, and then they started talking that
It's
there's a
subverted
body.
expectation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it started with the body, the heartbeat. Because when you did the thumb, for example, it was 3 thumbs.
Mhm.
That is always a giveaway for a heartbeat.
Mhm.
And then it slowly started going with the tendrils and everything else. And when you start talking about the goat-like eye, one thing comes to mind that you should be familiar as well. What is a cosmic entity that usually has goat-like eyes as well? Many of them, and tendrils.
It actually reminds me of a very, very long story that I would like to touch on in just talking here right now. It is one of my favorite, I would say, ARG adjacent stories. It's called Mother Horse Eyes. It is an absolutely rip-roaring time. Creepcast, my favorite horror podcast featuring Wendigoon and Meat Canyon, actually covered this on their channel. I highly recommend listening to it, but I do not recommend listening to it all in one sitting, solely because the damn video is 11 hours long. It is a behemoth of a story. But I do recommend Wendigoon's much shorter standalone video where he discusses the story of Mother Horse Eyes. Wow, what a fucking trip that shit is. It's mixed with government conspiracy, biblical nonsense, childhood trauma, cosmic horror, fucking MK Ultra. It feels a bit almost like a hodgepodge of different things, but I cannot recommend it enough to at least just watch the video or hear explanations of the story. Or better yet, either listen to the original podcast episode that Creepcast did of it, or even better yet, find it and read it for yourself. It's such a... For me, it was almost a humbling experience to read such a daunting piece of work, but wow, it was immensely satisfying to have every strand of, like, stories and details finally, like, come together. And it felt kind of like this story, kind of like all these little bits of information finally, culminating, that's the word, culminating into one final thought. And wow, I think the execution of it was really nice. The subversion of expectation was possibly my favorite part of it.
Yeah, and the fact that it just leaves off on a somewhat cliffhanger. It doesn't end the story immediately. It leaves it open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those stories that I feel like would be an absolutely amazing movie if done by the right production company, or better yet, a mini-series. Like, I could see this being a 6-part mini-series of just 6 episodes, maybe like an hour or so long, of just absolute fucking chaos.
Yeah, if it's done in the same way as... What is that freaking movie called again? Is it called The Mist? or fog, whatever the
I
heck. The one
think
where
so.
yeah, it's the one where the dude basically just offs his entire family in the car at the end, and then turns
Oh
out
yeah.
if he had just waited a couple minutes, it would have been different. I feel like that would be a good way to do it as well, because it ends perfectly on a moment where you don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot agree more. But yeah, that was a absolutely phenomenal story. I love that one quite a lot. But without further ado, here, we got another fairly long one, I'd say. But before we move on to that, hydration check, Chad. It's time to drink
Hydration check
water.
and go take a piss, so you don't miss.
Yes, go take a piss. Quickly now, friends.
I actually did dip out during halfway through
man.
the story because I needed to take a piss real bad.
Yeah, I figured that's what that noise was.
Yeah, it's whenever you see both hands go up and then I lift
Uh-huh.
them, that's when I take off the headset.
I figured as much. But
Yeah.
yes, alright.
If you hear just a normal click, that's me turning the mic on and off. Usually to sneeze or something.
Yeah, I got a similar thing with my headphones over here. Oh man, I will admit though, I was having a little bit of difficulty reading it, not for any part of like lagging or like my brain not wanting to keep up. I'm not exactly a spring chicken, Chad. I'm 26. I'm gonna be turning 27 this year. So, I've begun exhibiting a bunch of old man behaviors, as some of my friends like to put it. I was having the worst fucking acid reflux ever, and it hurt so bad. I was trying not to like burp and like fucking like retch and just be like gross all up in my mic while I was in the middle of reading that. But it felt kind of appropriate almost,
To some
because
parts,
like
yes.
chat, if you've never had like acid reflux or similarly heartburn, ooh, it's like in the base of your neck, at the very like back of your throat, like right where it connects to the bottom of your head, and it like burns like you're gonna throw up, but like it just doesn't come out, and you're just left like burping and just like, ugh, if I do fucking throw up, it's just gonna be acid and it's gonna burn my throat type shit, you know? It's almost like not worth it to just burp, you know?
Yeah,
Ugh,
that was also on
it
a
was
side
terrible.
note. You had a small part where you basically lacked out a tiny bit, but it actually worked out in your favor.
I saw that. It was quite favorable for just a second, but what else can you expect from fucking Hell 9000, my good old fucking Panini press? Remember, chat, I do these streams to earn myself a new PC, so if you want to help me out with that, I'd be more than grateful. Ugh, boy. Okay. Now, with our hydration in check and bladders less full, let's get on to this next story, which should conclude our stream here. This one is called My Dad Ate Meat from a Deer That Walked on Two Legs. Now, he's acting kind of strange. The party was 2 weeks ago. I stole a few beers when the adults weren't looking and shared them with Lucy Sitkins away from the crowd. She drank hers greedily as we sat beneath the bough of a low tree, speaking low so no passers-by could hear. Every time we whispered, we tilted our faces a little closer and closer. There was a moment where I thought she was going to rest her head on my shoulder as she told me about how she wanted to be a vet, and my heart skipped a beat as I debated putting my arm around her waist. It was all cut short by her father, Larry. He stood in front of everyone in the party and forced a beer can down his throat. I didn't see it. I only heard the cries that had us both sitting upright beneath the branches. By the time we got back to the party, the adults were escorting the kids away, and ambulance sirens were fast approaching. Dad was there, and he told me to take my little sister home. A grim and frightening look on his face made me forget Lucy and the smell of beer on her breath. I tried hard to remember if she ate something from the barbecue. Sometimes I think she didn't. Other times I swear I can picture her biting into a burger, and it's so vivid I think it must be a memory. It's moot either way. I'll never see her again. I felt a little gross when I went into school the next day and asked around if the stories about her dad were true. When my father got home the night of the party, he hadn't spoken to me or Mom. He just went to bed and didn't tell us what happened. Come morning, I saw some of the older kids by the school gates and overheard them talking. The details made my stomach churn, but I wanted to know more. I didn't want to act like all excited about something terrible, but this felt like the kind of thing people would be talking about for years. Larry Sitkins had swallowed a beer can. Shoved it down his throat like a fucking boa constrictor eating an egg! At least, that's how one kid described it to me. There was more, of course. He'd praised Satan before slitting his own throat. He'd gotten pissed drunk and fallen hard onto the ground while chugging a beer. Tried to catch the can mid-air. Someone punched him mid-sip. There was a lot of variations on what happened and how, but they were only theories that got turned into rumors. A lot of us were just trying to make sense of it. Larry was a pretty run-of-the-mill guy. He was a landscaper who made lame jokes at kids' birthday parties. He was about as nondescript as they came. At least, as far as a bunch of teenagers were concerned. We'd gotten halfway through the day before Mr. Straub shut the bleachers on his neck. It was in front of the cheerleaders. There were ambulances again. Crying girls and boys, and even some of the teachers. Most of them just looked confused. Except for Mr. Straub. I managed to catch a glimpse of him as I jogged over to find out what all the screaming was about. He looked empty of all thoughts and emotions, with his head set at a crooked angle. I figured that it was just how people must look when dead. But apparently, he had been like that during the act. He'd walked up, perched his neck between the slatted benches, and hit the remote to slide the bleachers closed. The whole time he was just slack-jawed and stupid-looking. Even as the metal mechanism crunched the vertebrae and cartilage. I later learned Larry had been like this too, when he killed himself. He was getting ready to pop the tab on a fresh beer when he simply stopped. Looked into the sky and then forced the whole thing down his throat in a single world-shattering moment. I didn't know it back then, but there were others just like Larry and Mr. Straub. A barista in a coffee shop steamed half the skin off her arm while keeping eye contact with a guy in the drive-thru. A doctor at the local clinic used a biopsy needle to inject air straight into his own heart. Lots of people shot themselves, but not one of them aimed for the head. That's a weird touch, if you think about it. These people obliterated their torsos or limbs with high-powered rifles at point-blank range. No reason offered. Just a vacant expression as they deleted bits off their bodies and left nothing but ragged stumps. There was no school the next day, which was the only real clue I got about how panicked the local authorities were. Wouldn't be long before national authorities joined in on that panic too, but that would come later. That morning, my parents left the house at 9:30 for a meeting at the town hall. They dropped me off at my grandma's on the way. I waited for them to leave before I told my grandma I was heading out. It was a hot day, and she only nodded her approval as she sat reading with my sister. She hated seeing me play video games and always encouraged me to go outside and make my own adventures. I had no plans. Didn't even want to see any of my friends. I thought a lot about Mr. Straub's face as I crossed empty farmers' fields and walked into the woods. I'd been to an open casket funeral once. It was for Father Dennis, who'd christened me as a baby. Not that I remember anything about him except his stony face resting gently in the soft, white folds of his casket's interior. That seemed so long ago, and so sterile that the thought of it was a bit sad, but not a whole lot else. But Mr. Straub's face had frightened me, with his swollen lips and bulging eyes. Alive one moment and dead the next, with only pain to separate the two. And yet, he looked so bored, hanging there from his own broken neck, still wearing those ridiculous red shorts he always had on no matter the weather. It took time to recognize that seeing a dead body had freaked me out. It felt like it shouldn't have messed with me as much as it did, and I guess that's why there was a little bit of anger mixed in with all those thoughts in my head. It's also why I pushed on through the woods till the trees began to thin, marching into the humid summer heat until my t-shirt was soaked and my legs ached. I wanted to feel tired. I wanted it so the only thing I could think of were my throbbing hamstrings and sunburnt forehead. It ended when I reached the tracks. Shaggy rocks and boulders rose steeply on the opposite side. Only other ways to go were left into town or right into a dark tunnel, its mouth bristling with ivy. At least the air coming from it was cold, so I took a second to stand and catch my breath, feeling the sweat cool and evaporate as the wind billowed gently out of the darkness. I wasn't stupid, though. I paid close attention in case I heard the sound of any passing trains, and when I did hear one, I raced off the tracks as quick as I could. It honked as it came past. Another day, and I might have worried that I was gonna get in trouble for playing on the rails. But all I could really think of was the thing I'd seen laying by the tracks. It had been lit up by the train as it came roaring out of the tunnel, not far from the entrance. In the strange silence after the train had gone, there was only the dim light of the setting sun to see inside the tunnel. And everything looked the same. Old clothes, broken bottles, discarded crates, trash strewn around wherever it found space. But I knew what I'd seen in the harsh white light of the train's passing beams. It was a hell of a lot more than garbage. I'd seen a man. He was lying face down. There had been a hand, bright and pale like the moon in the night sky. I was sure of it. I didn't know what to do. Not right away. I was afraid and didn't want to go inside. But I couldn't just pretend I hadn't seen anything either. I tried shouting to them. If someone down there heard me, they gave no signs of it. It wasn't until I actually stepped into the darkness and let my eyes adjust that I confirmed there really was a man lying down in there. He was draped across the tracks, and he didn't have any legs. Judging by the way the bloodstains had turned the color of dirt, he'd been there for a while. Hell, half a dozen trains must have gone right over him, thinking he was just a bit of old cloth or something. That's if they saw anything at all. In that time, he'd dried out a little. He wasn't a mummy or anything, but the blood on his stumps and coming out of his mouth looked more like jelly than corn syrup. I was sobbing by this point, crying hard as I tried to make sense of what I was meant to do. While also feeling all of this was terribly unfair on me. There was a moment where I could almost feel myself wanting to be a kid again. A proper one. little. One who doesn't have to do things. One who can just get upset and scream and run away. I'd only just started to appreciate how badly I've been messed up by seeing Mr. Straub, and then, God, went and dropped that kind of nightmare right into my lap. Teeth stained black with blood and open eyes that looked at nothing. It felt like a nightmare. Not just the moment, the body, but everything else too. Everything since then, since that beer beneath the tree, had felt like it wasn't part of reality anymore. But nightmares end. I was outside, gasping, vomiting, crying my eyes out when I heard something shuffle in the tunnel I'd just ran out of. Part of me thought that sound must mean someone was alive and close by, and that meant I wasn't alone. But another part of me thought something else entirely. It was this part of me that took over and stopped me crying or making any more noise. My mouth turned dry as a desert, and all of a sudden, I was no longer hot all over, but cold. Freezing cold. My legs were backpedaling away from the tunnel in short, quiet steps. The noise persisted. It was the shuffle of something getting dragged over gravel and old plastic bags. It had a rhythm to it that was slow. The word that springs to mind is one I got taught in a biology class a long time ago. Locomotion. Something down there was moving. It was moving towards me. It sounded slow and broken and feeble, but that didn't matter. Somehow, even though I knew it was completely insane, I just knew what was going to come out of that tunnel. I knew it the way a rabbit knows the wolf, or the ant knows the spider. But still, when I saw him crawl out of the dark and into the light, I screamed so loud I'd have a sore throat for the next few days. It was the man from the tracks. And even though he moved, he wasn't alive. I tried telling myself that he couldn't have been dead, because only living things moved. But that was horseshit. He dragged his bloody, legless torso with one working arm while the other lay dislocated across his back, the fingers of both hands curling as he heaved himself along. And that face, that same empty, gawking expression, just like Mr. Straub's. He wasn't alive. He was a dead thing. That made him some kind of impossible monster. I turned and ran, screaming through the trees. The whole time I could only think of the thing that was behind me and was trying to close the distance. It didn't matter that it was slow. It didn't matter that I ran for over an hour. It didn't even matter that I wasn't sure if I knew my way home or was even running in the right direction. All that mattered was putting one foot in front of the other until there was nothing left inside me. Time turned funny. Seconds moved in strange staccatos until eventually I collapsed on legs made of rubber. Then I dragged myself into an old tree hollow to hide, and that's where I lost all consciousness. When I woke up, the sun had set and it was dark. He dry heaved a bit before expelling my guts onto the ground. Then found my way back to the beaten path and stumbled achingly through the cold night air back to my grandma's farmhouse. Dad was sick. My grandma screamed something to this effect as she held down his right arm, while my mother tried to grip his head in her blood-slick hands. He resisted with dumb determination. My little sister cried, watching the scene like a shell-shocked soldier. There was grunting and sobbing, and suddenly a bang, and then a puff of plaster rained down onto my head, and everyone began to yell and shriek a little louder. Dad had a gun. That was what my grandma was trying to wrestle out of his hands. She held a knife, and that's why there was blood. But I didn't know whose it was. I wasn't sure what she was planning to do with it until she tried to use it to cut off his trigger finger. The scuffle resulted in another bang, and a window exploded outwards. I finally ducked and grabbed my sister, rushing her into another room. But there were 3 more explosions, and each one broke something inside of me. By the time I heard my name being called, I was half deaf and twitching at things that weren't there. My sister pleaded for me to come back, her little pink fingers grasping for me as I put her down. But my mother was shouting for me to come help, and I wanted to keep my family safe. She told me to get something to tie Dad up, while she and my grandma used both arms to pin each of his wrists to the ground. His hand bled weakly as my grandma used every inch of her weak strength to simultaneously pin him and stop the flow. He thrashed slowly beneath them, his movements languid and easy, but I could tell it was a struggle for them to keep him down. As I ran to the garage, I saw the gun on the ground, with Dad's severed finger nearby. I kicked it out of reach before returning shortly with the rope my grandpa used to tie the garage door open during hot summers. Mom tied the knots. My grandma tried talking to my dad, and it was one of the few times in my life I saw her as the woman who'd once changed his diapers. She was so soothing and tender, and her constant muttering that everything would be okay seemed so fragile. She was scared for him, for her son. Mom just did everything in her power to wrestle some safety out of the moment. Only once his arms were securely behind his back was she confident he wasn't breaking free did she stand back, put her hands behind her, and then immediately hunch forward and sob. Call an ambulance, my grandma told me as she walked into the other room to get my sister. Before I got the phone, I briefly hugged my mom, who didn't seem to notice. I risked a glance at my dad, who didn't look at anything at all. Dead eyes glazed over and staring vacantly at nothing as he fought to free his arms. When he finally looked at me, it was no different to how he looked at the floor or the wall. I didn't go to school the next day either. Some men from the government came to take Dad in the morning, and Mom ordered me to my room when they arrived. She asked them 1,000 questions, but the replies were short and stern. All I managed to overhear were a few muffled phrases.
Please, stay put, ma'am. Someone will be in contact with you shortly.
When I ran to my window to look at them walking down the drive, I saw that they all wore masks. One of them saw me staring. I thought he was going to wave, but he didn't. There was a biohazard symbol on their clothes. After they left, Mom focused on making dinner and looking out for my sister. She kept me close the whole time, barking anxious questions whenever I tried to leave the room. Where are you going? Just the bathroom. Oh, okay then. It felt like she was painting normality onto tissue paper. Desperately afraid of breaking it, I tried my best to seem like I was okay. The last thing I wanted was to feel like some kid who needed his mommy. We mostly just talked about mundane things, but it was hard for both of us. The only time the atmosphere seemed to change was when she asked me something strange halfway through dinner. Did your father, when you both went hunting a few months back, what did you do with the meat? I don't know, I shrugged. Dad took care of all that. Why? The man who took him asked a whole bunch of questions about it. Then, with a fragile smile, "Have you done your homework? He told me your teacher would send you some assignments online." And just like that, the thin pretense of normality came back. But I was left with a wriggling feeling in my stomach. It didn't go away, as the evening marched on. In fact, it only grew. But until I found myself in bed, rolling from side to side and thinking about Mom's question. The man who bundled Dad off hadn't seemed like the kind who messed around. They must have had some idea what was going on. So, why ask about the meat? On some level, I knew the moment my mom asked me why it was relevant. Dad loved to hunt, and he always brought meat to parties and barbecues. Wasn't it obvious? He'd brought something back from the woods, hadn't he? I hadn't gone hunting for a long time, nearly 3 months. Every time he'd asked, I'd refuse, and I think he knew why. On the very last trip, Dad shot 3 deer, but we only brought back 2. One for us, and one for the town barbecue. The third he shot, but we left it on the forest floor, because by the time it had died, I was pale, shaking, and even Dad couldn't keep the tremor out of his voice. Neither of us had expected the deer to stand up on its hind legs and walk toward us like a man, its gait heavy and broken as it lumbered over the forest floor. And had it kept coming, even after Dad shot it 6 more times. One of the rounds struck it in the head, but it still shambled forward on 2 misshapen legs as its brains painted the ferns a pestilent gray. When it finally fell, even Dad had gone pale, and in the silent aftermath, I had to go off and be sick in a bush. After that, we cut the trip short. Dad walked me gently back to the truck, and where the 2 deer we'd shot and trussed earlier that day lay waiting in the pickup. I don't think either of us even remembered they were there until later. He'd asked if I wanted to head out with him each weekend, but he never seemed surprised when I made up some excuse. The only time we talked about it was not long before the barbecue, when he drove me to school one day. He didn't deal with it head on, he skirted the topic.
Sometimes deer get sick, he'd told me. A little like old folks do. Remember Grandpa? He got real scary towards the end, didn't he? Well, deer get sick too. But we don't have to worry. The same way you couldn't catch what Grandpa had, well, can't catch what the deer have. Us humans are safe, just an uncomfortable part of nature.
It had come out of the blue, or at least it seemed like it. I figured it was Dad's way of trying to get me back on board with hunting. I knew he liked me going with him. I'd like it too, at least until I'd seen that deer walk towards me on 2 legs. But lying in my bed that night after Mom had gone to sleep, I started to wonder if maybe he hadn't really been trying to convince me. Maybe he carried a little doubt in himself about something he was gonna do. What if he'd been trying to convince himself it was okay? 2 deer. I tried remembering what they'd been like. I hadn't checked them after we'd gotten in the truck. Why would I? It seemed as normal as any others. We tied them down. But I hadn't really been paying attention either. I'd been hunting since I was 7. helping Dad was automatic to me. And to top it off, I hadn't known what I was meant to be looking for. I squirmed beneath the sheets and tried so hard to remember every detail of that trip. Most of all, I tried to remember what the first 2 deer Dad had shot were like. They'd gone down so quick. They seemed normal, but Grandpa had been sick with Alzheimer's a long time before he got scary. I had to figure the same could be true of those deer. Who's to say the one on hind legs was the only sick creatures in the wood that day? I couldn't have forced these thoughts out of my head with a crowbar. At some point, I accepted I wasn't getting any sleep that night, and I settled down to torture myself some more until I realized I didn't have to be that way. Dad had an old freezer in the shed, and he sometimes kept meat in there. Not for long, and usually not for eating. He'd use it for things he wanted to skin or try and make a trophy out of, which he rarely did since Mom didn't like that kind of thing in the house. But if the deer weren't in the freezer, the kitchen, or the garage, then they might be in the shed. And if I did open up that chest and saw 2 deer bodies in there, that meant whatever was going on around and making people hurt themselves couldn't have come from our little hunting trip. I snuck out of my room as quietly as I could. Mom was on the phone with my grandma and she was crying. I stopped briefly by her door and listened to see if maybe they knew something I didn't. But after she started talking about how scared she was, I felt bad and moved on. At least it meant she was too busy to notice me creeping down the stairs. I never liked the shed at the end of the yard. It was rarely used, even by my dad, who kept the lawnmower and some old junk in there. It wasn't the kind of place you kept food, but I had this feeling he didn't keep these deer with the rest of the meat he'd gotten from hunting. As I opened the back door and looked over the shadow-covered yard, I found myself thinking about the tunnel and what I'd seen back there. With everything that happened since I'd done a good job of convincing myself it never really happened. The man with no legs who dragged himself out of the darkness had become little more than a half-remembered nightmare. Some kind of fever dream that my brain concocted after being so tired. A moment out of time that was incompatible with all logic and reason. It suddenly was back with me. All the emotions and thoughts that raced through my head as I'd stared at the rotten flesh and glassy eyes of the man. The walk to the shed wasn't easy. I fought the urge to just turn around, and the entire way there, each step was like walking on feet made of lead. At the door, I paused with my hand poised by the lock. The house seemed so distant behind me, and I became painfully aware nobody knew I was alone and out in the dark. Inside was nearly pitch black. My phone helped me light it up a little bit, but I didn't touch the nearby switch in case Mom saw it from her window. Cobwebs hung low from the ceiling, and shadows crawled across the floor and walls as I moved closer to the freezer. The entire time I was expecting something to happen. I even imagined that deer rising from beneath the lid, pushing it open to stand unnaturally tall on its hind legs, where it looked down at me with the same dead eyes I'd seen in my father. The thought scared me so bad I nearly hyperventilated myself straight into a panic attack. But before I had time to really worry about any of that, my hand found itself on the freezer latch. I pushed it open, looked inside. The misty vapors cleared to reveal a pile of meat and fur encrusted with ice. There was only one head visible, but I so badly wanted confirmation that there were 2 animals in there that I took a deep breath and reached in to pry some of it loose. Some of it came away from the sides with a sound like that of duct tape. No matter how deep I rooted around in the mound of bone and antlers and rock-hard flesh, I couldn't see a sign of the second deer. Had Dad really served everyone sick meat? Was that really why Larry Sickens, Mr. Straub, and all those other people had killed themselves? The thought made me physically ill. I slammed the freezer shut and walked back to the door in a daze, trying with all my might to swallow the painful weight that settled in my gut. I had 1 foot outside when the freezer door rattled against the ledge. The entire world spun around me. My heart sank and my skin froze in a sensation that was growing increasingly familiar. I turned to face the sound, both hands braced against the door, and watched as the latch slammed into the lock one more. The light inside the chest came on for the briefest of moments, and I glimpsed thrashing fur and teeth. Then it happened again, and again, and each time I saw bits of hoof and bone and strange musculature that frightened me so deeply I fell down on my ass and didn't even realize. When the latch finally gave way, the lid flew open and stayed there. Light poured out of the box and I waited, breath held for that thing to emerge, to come roaring out of sight and bear down towards me on its unnatural legs. But nothing happened. The silence stretched on for what seemed like an eternity until, at last, there was a crash louder than any before, and the entire freezer rocked back and forth and slowly fell over. The deer, or parts of it, fell out with a hard, wet thump. Bits of its chin and face shattered on the hard-packed ground, sending little shards of meat and bone across the floor on melting streaks of blood. Some of them even reached my feet. The thing inside moved with the sound of snow crunching beneath your feet, its thick neck and broken head twisting side to side, scanning the shed's interior with faulty eyes. I'd never seen anything move like that before. Not before, or even since. It was worse than the man in the tunnel, worse by 1,000 times. The deer was still mostly frozen, but some impossible force was making fight the crystallized water in its own cells, and the result was the skin that ripped like tissue and muscles that cracked and crunched as they tried to flex and contract. It lifted its head and tried to scream, breathy sound that left its fuzzy black lips and made my heart start skipping beats. My bladder threatened to empty itself. I couldn't help it. I couldn't stop myself. When I looked down and saw pieces of melting flesh start to writhe and wriggle, I tried with all my might to stifle the cry building up in my throat, but it still escaped as a desperate, high-pitched whine. The deer turned its head towards me with a violent swing, another breathy shriek, and it began to thrash its stiff and frozen legs in a terrifying attempt to get closer. To say it had a predatory look would be inaccurate. Anyone who's seen a predator in action knows that nature is mostly indifferent when it kills. A bear tears into its prey with the same dull look of someone opening their McDonald's. Predators didn't hate things that they hunt. But this thing, I could feel its hatred, its malice, its loathing towards me. It was nothing like what I had seen in my dad's eyes, or even in the eyes of the man in the tunnel. But it had spent months upon months in that box, hadn't it? This was the disease when you skip 3 months ahead. Anger. Hatred. Jesus Christ, I couldn't even say it if it was gonna eat me. That's what you think when you see a zombie, right? It's gonna try and take a big bite out of you. But this frozen clump of hair and meat and braying lips dragged itself across the floor with an expression like murderous rage. The look of someone ready to beat another living thing to death using its own hands if it had to. Like I had personally wronged it somehow. Unable to face it a moment longer, I dragged myself back onto my feet and fled, shutting my eyes as I entered the cold night air. I made it 3 steps before I slammed face first into my dad. It was like I'd run full speed into a tree, bounced back and hit the earth, pain flaring up in my tailbone as my father loomed over me. He'd felt cold for the brief moment where we'd made contact. My mind blocked out the sound of something hideous scrambling in the shed behind me. The entire world narrowed until it was just the face of the man who'd raised me, looking down with pale, dead eyes. Dad? He swallowed, then briefly examined his hands. I think I'm dead, he muttered, almost as if he was talking to himself. When did I die? What happened to me? I pulled myself up and grabbed his hand. He was bitterly cold, but his pulse was racing. I could even see the veins in his forearm throb sickeningly. Dad? Dad, are you okay? You told me I'm sick, he said, his eyes gazing vacantly at the empty space behind me. Things are right, but there's more. He looked at me, the intensity of his gaze so powerful that I let go of his hand and took a step back. For the first time in my life, I was scared of him. I'm not alone in here, he said, his voice pleading for help. Slowly, his expression twisted into a grotesque mask of agony and desperation. Oh, Jesus. Is it just me in here? Oh, God. I tried to move, but he was a big man. His arms wrapped around me like steel bands. Dad! I tried to pull myself loose as he sobbed louder and louder. Jesus! Fuck, you gotta let me go! The shed door burst open. I managed to twist around just enough to see what had come out. I felt an urgent terror crawl up my flesh. The deer had pulled itself loose from the freezer, and now it stood in the doorway on 2 legs. Its body looked all wrong in that posture. Like when you twist the limbs around on a doll. Probably not far from the truth thinking about it. Dad didn't react, but he began to scream as the nightmare coalesced around me. My father gripping, holding me in places. That horrible thing lurched towards me on 2 legs and moved like claymation or like a puppet show gone wrong. But it was quicker than I feared. As each step it brought it closer, I found myself losing what little control I had. I started to scream, started to shriek. I beat at my father with my fists, but he didn't budge an inch. I clenched my hands. My clenched hands just bounced off his strong shoulders, and it was like I was trying to hurt a punching bag. I started to swear, too, started to scream things I thought were bad, and worse than so bad, I'm not even sure I can blame other people for putting those words in my head. I told my dad I hated him, called him a son of a bitch, called him even worse. All that commotion got the attention of the others. Neighbors' lights started coming on. My mom emerged from the back door, wrapping her robe around herself as she squinted at us in the dark. What the hell is going on? She cried as she stumbled towards us. When she saw that deer, she started screaming too. I don't know why. I thought that other people appearing would help somehow. That as 2, 3, half a dozen people came stumbling into open lawns, peering over waist-high fences, it stopped the slow but inevitable onslaught of that monster. I did no such thing. I had to listen to their confused shouts and cries while gesturing and begging for help. The entire time, the sound of the creature over my shoulder getting closer and closer. Meanwhile, my hands tried to pry away my father's thick arms, but each time I got leverage, he simply flexed and his grip tightened around me again. He was muttering something the whole time, but I couldn't hear it. Finally, my mom screamed and ran swinging an old rake at the space behind me. I heard the impact, the splintering of the wooden handle. Then she stumbled backward. I had to twist to get a look at the deer that was now just 6 or 7 feet away, the spokes of a rake sticking out of its face. The monster looked right at me, and it opened its mouth. I swear to fucking God, it was going to talk. But right then,
Shut the fuck up.
someone shouted, "For the love of God, Alice, get away from that thing!" Alice was my mother's name. She fell onto the floor just seconds before an explosion broke the night, silencing all voices and shattering the deer's head like a crystal ball hitting the ground. My heart raced so fast I thought for a moment I was gonna die. Then I looked at Dad and finally heard what he'd been mumbling this whole time. "It's in us. And it wants us. It's in us and it wants us. It's in us and it wants us." There isn't much left of Dad these days. I got to visit a couple times. Fat lot of good that did. As far as I'm concerned, he died that day in the kitchen when he first tried shooting himself. They're treating us in this special hospital. Mom was real upset that visitations are limited, but I think it might be for the best. Her and my sister are tested clean. Most people did. I didn't. Mom snuck me this phone a couple weeks ago, and I had been using that to write. Funny thing is, one of the orderlies saw me on it a few days ago and just laughed. I think maybe the government aren't too worried about the story getting out. At first, I didn't really get why until I started actually putting all of this down into writing. Got to the part where the half-man came out of the tunnel and I realized no one's gonna believe me. Still, I gotta try. Partly because I want to protect people. Whatever this disease is, it's a hell of a lot more than just some twisted prions, and I think the government knows that. Dad certainly did. Most infected did too. That's why they killed themselves. They wanted out. The voice that comes with this illness, it's like if your brain is just words in a book and then someone dipped that book in a can full of used motor oil. You just want to give in. Hand it all over. It wants your body, so whatever you do, don't fight. That's worse. Give it up. In hindsight, we should have let Dad kill himself. What he went through was... well, it was probably a lot worse than the others who got to die. Sometimes I think about going into his room with a pillow, but security's pretty tight around him. As for me, the infection is still in its early phase. It takes everyone differently, and for me, it's taking quite its time. They think it's because of my age. Still, I can sort of feel it under there. Growing. I think that's why I'm writing this. It wants me to. This sickness lives out in the woods, way out in parts of the soil where the sun hasn't shone millions of years. It's old enough to remember a time you could walk from Appalachia to what's now called Glasgow. It's been fumbling around there, in the brains of deer and other things. The sickness tells me this. Tells me it's learning about this new world. Tells me how my mind tastes. But most of all, tells me it's getting closer. And that was my dad ate meat from a deer that walked on 2 legs. Ooh, gotta love a good old zombie story that isn't really like the typical, zombie stories, because it's based partially in reality. There is a thing, the prion disease that affects deer and makes them act erratically, even though they're showing signs that they shouldn't be alive, if anything. And it's just so creepy. It's so terrifying to think about. Like, that is a real thing.
Yeah,
We are
the prion
teetering
disease is a real
just on
thing.
the verge of that shit. Mm-hmm. But yes. Apologies again for a very late start. Life, you can't really anticipate what the fuck is gonna happen, but thank you all again for joining me on this episode. Next week, I will be reading Turn It Off and The Harbinger Experiment, and if we have some time after that, we'll read some short, scary stories as well. But for now, thank you all for joining. Stay away from weird 2-legged deer, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll continue with some God Eater, or I will continue with it. And then on weekend we'll be doing Dragon's Dogma and also having a little fishing stream at the end on Sunday, because we wanted to do a
Yes.
little VR stream there and chill out and everything else. But for now, we're gonna go raid Shadow Purpley and do that jizz.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye!
Bye!